This episode is sponsored by Celestron, manufacturer of high-quality telescopes and an industry leader in developing exciting optical products with revolutionary technologies.
I'm Kelly Beatty of Sky and Telescope magazine, and tonight we're going on a tour of the stars and planets that you'll see overhead during May. First, we'll highlight this month's lunar phases, track down 3 planets before dawn, keep alert for bits of Halley's Comet, and get to know the Swiss Army knife of the night sky. So grab your curiosity and come along with me on this month's Sky Tour. Let's get started with where you'll find the moon this month. May begins with the moon at last quarter phase. It'll rise roughly around midnight and be highest in the sky around dawn. In fact, lots of infrequent sky gazers are stunned when they unexpectedly discover the moon hanging up in the sky well after sunrise. New moon occurs on the night of May 7th, and a couple of days later it shows up in the evening sky as a lovely slender crescent that grows a bit fatter with each passing day. We're so used to seeing the moon come and go each month that we sometimes forget how beautiful it really is. First quarter follows on the 15th, and the moon is full on the 23rd. Indigenous American tribes refer to this as the full flower moon because so many flowers burst into bloom this month. The cycle starts over again on the 30th after that big fat globe has shrunk once again to last quarter. Now, around the time of full moon, it's easiest to make out clusters of dusky, dark markings on the otherwise brilliant lunar disk. Before the invention of the telescope, sky watchers thought the moon was a crystalline orb that showed us a reflected version of Earth. Those dark smudges were thought to be the mirrored views of Earth's oceans and seas, and so they were given names like Ocean of Storms and Sea of Tranquility. Today we realize the dark regions really were seas of a sort, vast plains of molten lava that erupted and froze in place billions of years ago. And in a charming nod to history, we still know these features by their fanciful, watery names. If you pay attention to where the sun rises or sets, you'll realize that those points are marching northward along the horizon as the days and weeks go by. That solar slide is due to the changing orientation of Earth's spin axis with respect to the sun as we northerners march through spring and towards summer. The sun is also shifting northward for our Australian friends, but for them it means that autumn is gradually becoming winter down in the southern hemisphere. This shift also means that dawn's twilight comes earlier and earlier. That's too bad, because right now you can track down 3 planets in the pre-dawn sky, and you'll need to be outside at least 30 to 45 minutes before sunup to have a chance to see them. Curiously, the 2 brightest planets are not among them. During May, Venus is hopelessly lost in the solar glare, passing almost directly behind the Sun from Earth's perspective on June 4th. Jupiter is technically just above the horizon after sunset, but by the 18th, it too is directly behind the Sun. So that leaves Saturn, Mars, and Mercury. Saturn is actually easiest to spot. It rises in the east a couple of hours before the Sun, and once twilight arrives, it's at least 1 clenched fist above the horizon early in May and 2 fists up by month's end. Now there aren't any bright stars in that part of the pre-dawn sky, so you'll know Saturn when you spot it. The last quarter moon is less than 1 degree away on the morning of May 31st, and in fact it will occult or cover up Saturn from certain locations in the southern hemisphere. Spotting Mars is a bit more challenging, but not impossible. In early May, the red planet is about 1.5 fists to the lower left of Saturn, and the 2 are almost equally bright. But as the month goes by, Saturn rises higher, while more or less Mars stays put relative to the Sun, and by the end of May these 2 planets are 3 fists apart. Look to the lower left of Mars for Mercury, which is down in the bright glow of dawn twilight and hovering just a degree or 2 above the eastern horizon. Honestly, you won't likely see this by eye, but you just might sweep it up if you look with binoculars, so good luck. If you find yourself planet hunting before dawn in early May, you might catch one or two shooting stars from the annual Eta Aquariid meteor shower. These are bits of debris shed by none other than Halley's Comet. Conditions are really great when this year's show peaks on the mornings of May 5th and 6th, because the moon will be just a thin crescent. But you'll need to be looking for them between about 3 and 5 a.m. So, my bottom line is that you won't be seeing any planets in the evening sky for a while. But there's no need to be sad, because during May the stars overhead are in full bloom, so to speak. Directly above the sunset point, well up as twilight deepens, is the star Capella, a name derived from the Latin word for goat. Swing your view to the upper left of Capella by about 3 fists until you come to a pair of side-by-side stars that are roughly equal in brightness. These are the twins of Gemini, with Pollux on the left and Castor on the right. Next, look to the lower left of these twins for a bright star sitting on its own. That's Procyon, the brightest star in the small constellation Canis Minor, the little dog. These are all holdovers from winter's constellation parade, and in the coming weeks they'll slowly drift closer to the horizon and disappear from view. But more celestial action is brewing elsewhere. The evening skies of May feature one obvious star pattern that just about everyone knows, the Big Dipper. To find it, all you have to do is look up, way up. You should see the Big Dipper looming over you, with its curved handle bent upward, and its 4-sided bowl apparently overturned, as if dumping soup into some imaginary pot. Even though it's so well known, the Big Dipper isn't truly a constellation. It's what astronomers call an asterism, which is simply any group of stars that make a recognizable pattern. The Dipper is part of a larger constellation called Ursa Major, the Big Bear. Right now this woolly beast is on its back, with the stars in the Dipper's handle serving as the bear's tail, the bowl marking its torso, and its head off to the left. I think of the Big Dipper as the Swiss Army knife of the sky, because it helps me find so many other key springtime stars. For starters, find the 2 stars at the left end, forming one side of the bowl. Sky watchers call these the pointer stars, and here's why. Draw an imaginary line through the pointers and follow that line downward by the width of 3 fists. You'll come to a moderately bright star, and that is Polaris, the North Star. You can use this trick anytime you want. Just remember that those 2 stars point to Polaris. Now follow the curve formed by the Dipper's handle up through overhead until you reach a very bright star about 3 fists away. That's Arcturus, the spring sky's brightest star. It's that bright in part because it's rather close to us, a mere 37 light-years away. Can you detect this star's pale ginger ale color by eye? Now follow that same curved line past Arcturus into the southeastern sky until you come to a rather bright, icy white star. This is named Spica, or Spica in more proper Latin. So congratulations, you now know how to arc to Arcturus and spike to Spica. Look a little to the lower right of Spica by a bit more than 1 fist for a lopsided trapezoid of 4 stars that are all about the same medium brightness. It's not far above the southern horizon at nightfall. This is Corvus, the crow, though ancient Babylonians knew it as a raven. In Greek mythology, Corvus is associated with Apollo and Coronis, one of his many lovers. In one version of this story, Coronis had been unfaithful, and Apollo learned about this from a pure white crow. So, in a fit of rage, he turned the crow's feathers black. Now, here's where a little imagination will come in handy. It's not obvious at all, but the mythical crow is riding on the back of Hydra, often represented as a water snake. Hydra is the largest of all the 88 modern constellations, and what a giant specimen this is. Its head is over in the west, nipping at the paws of the little dog. Slide your gaze leftward along the horizon, and you'll follow its body past Corvus until you reach the tip of its tail well to the left of due south. That's one giant serpent, 10 clenched fists from one end to the other. And yet Hydra contains no bright stars at all, so for many of you it'll have to exist purely in your imagination. but trust me, it is there. Okay, for one last star hop, let's return to the pointer stars in the Big Dipper. Follow a line through them in the opposite direction, away from Polaris, and 4 or 5 fists later you'll reach Regulus, the brightest star in the constellation Leo. So now you can point to Polaris in one direction, or leap to Leo in the other. That's about it for this month. If you want more tips for viewing the night sky, including a free interactive star chart for any time or date, check out our website, skyandtelescope.org. If you haven't already subscribed, you can find Sky Tour on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. And if you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please leave me a rating or a review. It'll help spread the word about Sky Tour, and I really welcome your feedback. And if you want to explore the solar system and universe more deeply, check out the full line of binoculars and telescopes available at celestron.com. Sky Tour is a production of Sky and Telescope, a division of the American Astronomical Society, and it's produced by me, Kelly Beatty. Next month, we'll try to spot some of the lesser-known constellations in the late spring sky. Until then, I wish you clear skies.